It's a great joy to stand here and be with so many wonderful people that have discovered the wonderful benefits, things of Tai Chi. And I'm so glad to welcome you. It's a long time ago. I see lots of people have met each other in past groups, and that's how it was with me. I used to do yoga and teach yoga when I was in Focus Theatre. And I said, it's God's gift to man. You know, the whole thing of balance, the whole body to breathe, and I thought it was wonderful. Then I moved to Galway and I was having children, and they, you know, it just fell by the wayside, and I just I let all that wonderful thing go. And then by a wonderful, benevolent turn of fortune, I heard that there was a Tai Chi person starting to teach yoga in the Arts Centre in the presence of an extraordinary man called Kalichi. So that I know many of you here now. But yeah. So at that time it was mostly young men. Yeah, the whole Arts Centre was full of young men that were doing it. There was just a few women. But I was directing the city pantomime at the time. And it was only when I was directing that I discovered the wonderful, wonderful benefits of the Tai Chi. I discovered that I was as fit as when I was doing the yoga. So I realized then that the principles are exactly the same. This is the Tao. We'll say it's probably Japanese, Chinese, and the yoga would be the Indian. But it's exactly the same principle and the same understanding that it's the spine is the main thing. So I was so delighted to discover that. So I have kept it up, and then Kalichi went. The man of Dublin, he went away and left us. And we tried for a long time, but then you lose a step here and you lose a step there, and you don't have the flow. So about 4 years ago then, I heard there were classes starting in the community centre near me, and Joe Pender had come. So I went down and I started with Joe. So I did another Tai Chi Chuan, slightly different with Joe, and I was so grateful. So I haven't had a class since then, but I've kept it up, and I would do it. Now, part 1 and 2, I know. Part third one is I haven't got really back to it yet. But I do it faithfully every day, and I just think it is wonderful. So what we're going to do today is it just happened that Moya Healy, Shay's sister, was here, and we discovered we both did Tai Chi, and we thought it would be a good idea to do the Áras. So I immediately thought, who was the great teacher? Kalichi. This is from my thing. So I asked Kalichi if he would come and curate it. So I'm going to hand you over to Kalichi, because he's going to do some warm-ups with you, and then we'll go outside and do it on the lawn, and people do it whatever way. But Kalichi will bring you through all that. So again, have a great day, and you're welcome. And then after it's all, we'll come back here and we'll have some food and chats and photographs and whatever. So thank you.
I know there are many people here who have different styles. Some people are teachers, some people have a little bit of Tai Chi, but the notion was not to gather the best and the brightest. The notion was more the spirit of Tai Chi in Ireland, how it would be right now, which means there's a lot of people just beginning classes and things of that sort. So we have a mixture of people who've been doing it for a long time, some people a bit of time, some people have just been working a small bit of time, and we have a few guests representing areas of education and the arts and healthcare. Some people work with older people, just to give a feeling for the notion of Tai Chi. And lastly, because we all have, those of us who do Tai Chi, we have our own ways of warming up. I was thinking something that was common to all traditions, as far as I can see. And my own teacher, his name was Dalu, he said there are 5 secrets to Tai Chi. So let's point to what he calls his 5 secrets. Top of your head, palms of your hands, soles of your feet. Now, we can't disagree about that one. And then the other one, another great teacher, was called Cheng Men Cheng, and he had his 3 secrets. The top of the head, your Tan Tien, and the soles of the feet. So I like that one. And lastly, which brings us to our first warm-up, I think a simple way of thinking of it is, as we speak, we are on this spinning planet, and of course there is a North Pole, there's a South Pole, and we know it's spinning on its axis, and we know there's an equator. Now, to me, that's just like the movement of we turn our waist. So let's try this. And again, if you smack anyone, just give them a bat in the head or something. Right?
Tá sí go léir báile. An gédal sias tá fíorcinn fáilte do áras an Uachtaráin am hanéin, agus a go háirithe ma bhean céad san ma bhean céad saibhín maras in áíre buine an ácaid seo le saibhín agus le Kelechi McDonough. I just want to say how welcome you all are to Áras an Uachtaráin. I think it's marvellous. I want to congratulate Sabina and all of those who, like her, are very interested in the most important things of life, that is breathing life and possibility into our world at the present time. And I'm really pleased as well because long before Sabina and I made our journey here, we met Kelechi. And along my journey in meeting him, I encountered all his wonderful work for arts and music and movement and the integration of things of mind and body and breath and the universe and all of that. And I think what is great is that this house here since the 18th century, isn't it wonderful that you're breathing such new life into it? I hope that you are most welcome. As President of Ireland has said, I'm delighted that you have come to visit Sabina and myself. Thank you very much.
there's many reasons, because I've been talking about Tai Chi and yoga in schools and different places. I think it's so important at this stage in the world when there's so much stress and so much everything else, and that people need their own tools to be able to have an equipment so that they're happy in their body and they have something that's helping them to be healthy, fit, breathing well, feel happy and free in their space and confident in themselves. And I think that's really important. So I'm really hoping to get yoga and Tai Chi, if we could get it out into the schools, to do all kinds of sports. This would be an equipment for life. Doesn't matter. Yeah. You know, there's a horrible thing when exams are on, they stop doing exercise. Isn't it the craziest thing? It's the time when they really need to be doing it. And afterwards, for sport, you know, it stops you getting sport injuries. It means you're always at a level of fitness, and then you can add on your extra training to it. And the flexibility it gives for that, for having babies, whatever it is, you know your body, you know how it breathes. And for people as they get older, just the flexibility in the joints. So many people, older people, sprain. They twist in their ankle, and because it's stiff, they get a strain. So I really think it would be wonderful to get that information out there. But there's one even more important reason, I think. We've just come back from the United Nations, the President and I, and a big feature is for 2015 is that we've tried to end global poverty or do it. And the other thing is that women, the importance of women, if the world is get to be a peaceful place. So the United Nations women, like they're, you know, there's the climate change as well. That is a big occasion this year. And United Nations Women is that there will be equality for women by 2030, which is 15 years' time. And all the countries of the United Nations have signed up to bringing in the legislation. They did it in Beijing in 20 years ago, and a lot of legislation came in that helped women. So in this year, they're signing up to it. There'll be more legislation in it. But the big problem all over the world, everybody came and spoke about it from, you know, South America, Central America, Africa, Europe, Ireland, everywhere. Big problem is gender violence and domestic violence. It's wrecking the world physically and economically. And it is so prevalent. And domestic violence, we've been to Pamela and I down the country, we're just amazed at the rise in domestic violence in Ireland. Now, I think there's frustration, things that go wrong, full of stress. So who do you let it out on? The people who love you most. It's an own goal going back into your home and doing this. But people are frustrated, they don't know what to do. And I feel that if they have the tool of their body working well, of them breathing well, their fitness, they're able to take the shocks. That's one of the great things I found about yoga, even when I was in Dublin in 1974, when all the car bombs were going on. When you were doing yoga, our Tai Chi, the body will fill up. It's working so well, it will just fill up with breath and be able to take the shock. And I think if young people, if men particularly, because he for she is a big feature of this, but if it were part of our school or could get it being done, people would be able to deal with the stresses and cope with it. They would have the tools. So that's, I'm probably going on a little, but I do think it could make for a lot better ability of people to be confident and to cope with them, and particularly even with young women, all this, online bullying, all those kind of things, just to have the ability to take the shocks and be able to see it. So that's all I want to say, that I am so happy to know that so many people are, doing it and benefiting from it. And I think it's a really wonderful thing. So maybe next year we'll have another day. But now I'd like you to hand over to Kelechi.
I think I'll pick up on the energy and the forcefulness of Sabina there, and this remarkable opportunity, this is unexpected. That's key. That was me and two hot whiskies last night up above. We wouldn't want to lose that now. We have this remarkable opportunity that our president, wild man Michael D himself here, to address what we actually think and feel. I know a few people out there. There's Kevin Moran, who probably is going to curse me that I mentioned his name, from the Dundalk Youth Centre. There's Tom Connady, a poet and educator, passionately involved with children. Is it Catherine McNamara, who I haven't met, other than saying hello, who's been working in Derry for 16 years, a Tai Chi project with old people. There's enormous resources in this room, and this is unexpected. We have an opportunity to state our case for moving forward, rather than just a nice day in the Áras and a bit of free grub and a glass of wine. I'd like to quote from what I consider one of the great texts of the last century, from T.S. Eliot, from 4 quartets. And anyone who knows about Tai Chi knows that if we were to get its full range, we'd be talking about its philosophy, self-defense, and the health. For me, self-defense is not just about push hands and its element within the martial arts. As important, as interesting as that is, self-defense in our times is closer to how we're addressing each other, how we behave better together, how we address what's happening to the earth. The conference that will be happening in Paris at the end of November about climate change, all the issues, how do we constructively use what we know about Tai Chi as a resource for entering creatively and imaginatively in the political arena. I think we have a lot we can help with, if we can add with thinkers and political people, social activists, to use the skills that we know that there is something fundamentally connected with how the body and the mind are connected. And we realize that there's a connection there. The foolishness that we hear every day in the Dáil of all these grown men arguing with each other, inability to listen to each other, to quietly accept that someone might have something to say just because they're from another party. The foolishness, I'm independent, the foolishness of seeing something in the paper last week of the Minister of Health or Minister of Finance suggesting that what we need is to give iPads to every 5-year-old in the country. Anyone who knows about education realizes that's a recipe for disaster to a generation that's increasingly addicted to screens and visions that are in front of their eyes. That we are in incredibly complex times, and I think the Tai Chi can open us to engaging in the times that we're living in. To me, that's part of the tradition of Tai Chi, is to move things forward, to learn from the past, but also to realize where we are. We're in Ireland, we're here, we have something else to offer, yet honouring the wonderful tradition that has been passed on to us and the blessings that have come forward from us. The reason for bringing up T.S. Eliot, for me, the starting point with self-defense or health is an aspect of stillness and centering. I live in Dundalk, and one of the projects I work with is called the Dundalk Youth Centre. And a couple of summers ago, I was walking past and I saw the sign, the Dundalk Youth Centre. And I looked at it and I thought, what it should say is Dundalk Youth, Centre, exclamation point. And that's not just a challenge being older to young people, that's an address to myself as well. How do we not be caught in the whirlwind of Netflix and all the crap that's being thrown at us all the time? How do we find an authentic centre, acting from that, living from that, behaving from that, thinking from that, and imaginatively engaging from that centre? To me, that is what I think Tai Chi has opened me up for the last 40 years. I'll just be brief because there's other people. I used to work in Portlaoise prison back in the 90s when the peace process was being debated. And what I found fascinating in a hothouse like Portlaoise prison was that there was tremendous interest in both yoga more than Tai Chi, but lots of the prisoners were doing Tai Chi and they were doing yoga. And because they realized that they needed to find some inner direction to center themselves to how to live in that situation. But interestingly enough, many of the people who were doing Tai Chi and yoga also instinctively felt they needed to write or paint. In other words, when the body releases some of the tensions, it has to express itself in some manner. And it was funny, but instinctively, like I said, they began to paint or to write. So there was something about centering the energies, there was something about expression, but then there was also discussion about They had been through various phases of violence, was looking how do you still work towards change but without physical violence. So to me there was something interesting how in what could be considered hardcore in a prison, instinctively recognized that Tai Chi and yoga were fundamental. And I think Sabina's really onto something by linking those two disciplines together. So I just want to say that, and everything I planned isn't here. That was just the Holy Spirit moving through me, hopefully appropriately. So I'll close with some beautiful passage from T.S. Eliot. And if you haven't read Four Quartets, it is one of the most stunning texts about the importance of stillness. I'm going to just read something it's very brief. And then please have the courage to come up and speak. At the still point of the turning world, neither flesh nor fleshless, neither from nor towards, at the still point, there the dance is, but neither arrest nor movement, and do not call it fixity, where past and future are gathered, neither movement from nor towards, neither ascent nor decline, except for the point, the still point. There would be no dance, no Tai Chi, and there is only the dance. And one other brief passage, I'm out of here. I said early with the warm-ups, to me the hardest movement is still the first one, to do nothing before you do something. And also the transition from one movement to the other. To me that's the art of how do you go somewhere, how do you come back with awareness. And I think this passage from Eliot at the end of his wonderful poem, and I'm going to substitute the word sentence that he has here for the word form. We'll think of it as a form that we do in Tai Chi. And apologies for correcting or changing T.S. Eliot. What we call the beginning is often the end, and to make an end is to make a beginning. The end is where we start from, and every phrase and every form that is right, taking its place to support the others. The word neither diffident nor ostentatious, an easy commerce of the old and the new. We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time, through the unknown remembered gate, when the last of earth left to discover is that which was the beginning. At the source of the longest river, the voice of the hidden waterfall, and the children in the apple tree, not known, because not looked for, but heard, half heard in the stillness between two waves of the sea.
I'd like to present this book to Michael D., President. It's from Grandmaster Chen Jiawang, and in the opening he actually put calligraphy to greet you in your inauguration in 2011. And like Li-Chi, I gave you a little bit of Lao Tzu. Each page is set out showing the yang and the yin movements. And if it's too tedious looking at the picture book, here's a little DVD on the masters of Tai Chi.
Well, you don't mind if I say that it's even more appropriate for my wife, Sabina.
If only I'd known that in 2011.
Yeah.
No.
It's a privilege on his behalf.
It is a great gift from the Grandmaster.
And we will have it
tradition.
here in the library, but in the meantime we can leave it if anybody here wants to look through it. It's wonderful. She was just showing me.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And you said this is the originator of...
Yeah, he's 19th generation, direct descendant. And in the back is the original disciples. And in fact, Jill Keogh from Donegal is one of those people. So he comes every year and he loves this land.
Thank you so
Who was
much.
Jill? Who was Jill? Oh, you were Jill. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. And we'll get a photograph. Yeah. Or stand in front of us maybe a bit better. Yeah.
I have known Kalichi for a very, very long time. We met each other in Dundalk, and Dundalk is an extremely important place. Kalichi has always taught me about thresholds, and Dundalk is one of our towns that has taken a huge brunt of the history, psychically, politically, and everything in our country. And in the early 1990s, I joined a men's group. That was unusual. Coming from a small village in Ballyhaise in Cavan, one didn't say too frequently in the pub that one was going to a men's group in Dundalk. And myself and the local doctor, John Veal, headed to Dundalk each week. And there I met Kalichi and other very good men who were trying to, I suppose, understand what it was to be a man, and understand what it was to be Irish, and understand what it was to live in a borderland, neither here nor there. I grew up on a diet of Barry Cowan. You probably are mistaken because he was the man who related the news at 6 o'clock in the evening. And all I heard during the 70s was of people being killed, and yet I lived on the other side of the border and nothing was happening. Yet Dundalk was at that threshold, and Kalichi was in the middle of that. One of the things that he spoke about, Sabina, and men spoke about in that group, was of male violence and looking at the issue of violence, and it travelled very, very deeply, that group. He taught me Tai Chi. He also worked with a group of about 7 or 8 of us in a decommissioned church in Marino. And we spent many, many, many sessions wondering what the image might be of a group of people working for so long in a church. And the image actually came to us through a stained glass window of an acorn, revealed to us what was present, but yet we were struggling. Kalichi also too has, and I'm mentioning his name because I know him so well, was invited by one of the most eminent international psychoanalysts, James Hillman, and one of our methodologist, Michael Mead, to attend a conference. And he was privy to something very, very deep that ran within the prison system on Ireland, and he was asked to address that particular conference. I know of people who hold things that he, almost towards fainting, took the brunt of what was happening in our country, but enlightened a group of people like nobody else can enlighten them, because his body, not his head, his body took the force. What I am most pleased about is a man from Clare and a woman who opens her house like I have been used to houses opening in Cavan. I spent most of my time in other people's houses. But this is a most generous house. And what is wonderful as a nation is that you're not suddenly tunneled into a time zone. You're told you can actually, walk about. So there is no hurry. So time and Tai Chi and stillness and time is really, really important. It is wonderful to have a poet in Áras and Uachtaráin, and a woman who has travelled deeply with the Focus Theatre, wonderful experimental theatre that has just been absolutely wonderful for envisaging just what we are about as a nation. I have learned another thing as a teacher and as a principal of a small school in Rathgar. I've been round the houses. I've been in Catholic schools, been set up 2 Educate Together schools, and I have now in a Protestant school. I have begun to learn what Ireland is about. But Kalichi was very proud when he heard that his cross between Tai Chi and Isadora Duncan, that is the lying, come on Kalichi, rolling, sitting, standing, skipping and running. When you go through these, you go through all of the 7 ages of life, and you begin to contemplate the threshold, the ultimate threshold between life and death. I had children in our school who lasted for 3 hours without saying a word. And when we talk about, issues of children not being able to do things, these children under the age of 12, under inspiration that comes from people like Kalichi and from Sabina, there is possibility. Because one of the things, and I'll finish with it, is that children are exponentially sent out into space. They have no sense of where space is if they're not given it. As Yeats says, this centre cannot hold, and it cannot hold unless we, like Kalichi and Sabina, and this house, unless we hold it for them. And the beautiful thing is that there is possibility, and there is hope, and there is joy. Once you have people like Kalichi and all of the Tai Chi people who work so beautifully throughout our country, and Sabina and Michael D opening the house, there is lots of hope.
Hi, my name is Jan. I teach Tai Chi full-time in Dublin. I've been doing it for 23 years. It's a great honour to be here today. Thank you. Just like to reiterate what Sabine said about it's something which I think should be done for young people. One of the things I have to contend with all the time is mockery. People think Tai Chi is just for people who are very old, and a lot of the scientific studies are done on people who are near death, so they always conclude Tai Chi is something which we think is good for people near death, whereas if they only knew that it's an extremely powerful exercise which can be done. It completely changed my life. My background is theatre, writing, and I started in UCD many years ago and entered the world of Chinese medicine, and then I started teaching, and it completely changed my physical world, mental, emotional, and when my internal ecology started getting better, I started taking an interest in the external ecology. I'm now studying plant science. So I just think it's underrepresented. I think it's misrepresented. I think it is being pigeonholed into a certain category. And I think this kind of event, and I'd like to thank again President Mrs. Higgins and Kalichi for publicizing what the benefits of Tai Chi could be, because they are tremendous, and I think more people should know about them. And I hope that this kind of thing can be replicated. So that's really all I have to say. Thank you very much.
This is just a presentation on behalf of Tai Chi teacher Joe Pender's classes in Westside, Galway City, and Tuam in County Galway. I would like to present this personal gift to Mrs. Higgins, to say thank you, Mrs. Higgins, most sincerely for inviting us into your home and also for giving us the opportunity to witness this historical event. And I'd also like to say a personal thank you to Joe Pender, our teacher, who has changed our life in a most positive way. Thank you, Mrs. Higgins.
Tell them what's inside of the box.
Inside we have a CD and a DVD of Joe's class, and also a medicine bag with various crystals for well-being And we have a beautiful poem that was written by one of our classmates, and it's a fantastic little gift. It's very personal. Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Where's the poem?
The poem is in the box as well. It's very long though.
Oh, if it's very long, we won't read it, yeah. I'll read, I certainly will read it myself, but I won't. But thank you very much. And thank you, Joe Pender, where are you? Where's Joe? She's hiding, yeah. Well, thank you very much, Joe. Yeah. I'll see you again. This is a lovely and a beautiful, beautiful box. It's exquisite, it's lovely. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Georgina Wright, and I just want to thank Sabina, President, and Kalichi for leading us this morning. And we have a Tai Chi fan. It's a form of Tai Chi, you might see that there, and a DVD to present to you. But I want to thank you for having this day, and Moya for having a chat with you.
Oh, Moya Neely.
Yes.
Moya was the person who was Shay Healy's sister. And that when we met with Shay, we discovered we both did Tai Chi, and that's where the notion, that we concreted. I always wanted to do one here, yoga, and then Moya said, we'll get it moving, and family came on board and that.
Well, you'll be very welcome to our class in Clontarf to learn the fans. Okay, so I just want to acknowledge some of my past teachers. One of them is here, Sam Lee. He was my teacher for 10 years. And he's a grandmaster, wonderful teacher, and he's teaching as well. And
my name's Ross Cousins. I represent the Master Ding Academy here in Ireland and further afield across Europe. I'm sorry I didn't bring any gifts today. No. I didn't expect to be standing in front of you all saying anything. So the only gift I can give is my heartfelt thanks on behalf of everyone, I think, for this activity today. And as we'd said earlier on, hopefully we can recreate this in the future. Just very briefly, I know we all know as Tai Chi practitioners and Tai Chi teachers that everything is about everything coming together as one. Mind and body coming together as one, all the different parts of the body coming together as one. When we teach in our classes, we desperately try to get all our students to move all together as one. I think maybe we could extend that a little further, and as a community, maybe we could all act as one. We're very disparate, we work in our own little areas. Possibly we could take Tai Chi to a new level in Ireland if we could work and communicate and broadcast our message as one. It reflects the centre of our practice, moving from our centre in a unified way. So I just wanted to say that there is an organisation out there that actually, in a non-partisan way, is a representative for Tai Chi and other martial arts. It's called the Irish Martial Arts Commission, and it has a body which people from the Tai Chi world can come together and talk together and how we can promote and grow Tai Chi in Ireland. Sam Lee, who was just mentioned before, also sits on that board. Yeah, he's laughing. There we go. So if you're interested, speak to Sam or me, or look it up on the internet. Irish Martial Arts Commission. It's got a lot to give, and if we can all row in together, it can give so much more. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say. So again, thank you very much, and good luck.
Hello everybody, my name's Sinead. I come from Derry. I grew up in the midst of the Troubles in Derry, and I was given a great bit of advice by my dad when I was younger. Listen to everybody and make up your own mind. And I've done that. I've looked and I've listened and I've learned from many people. And some of my best teachers, well, one of them's here today, Charles Thackerberry, Stuart Bowen. Charles is a genius. And I'm sure all of the people here would think their teachers are geniuses as well. But some of the best teachers I have are the children that I work with. My own son Dan here today, and Ellie. Yeah. These guys teach me regularly. They have no fear, they've no inhibitions, and they express themselves unlike we do. I'm privileged to work with them, and I wish that we could produce more classes or more awareness of Tai Chi, and we're all here together today. Thank you so much, Sabina, and Mr. President, Mr. Higgins as well, for having us here. I think in general this will raise the profile of Tai Chi in this country, and if we can just tap into that. I'm not sure how we do this, but Kalichi, sorry, excuse me, I left you right there. To do something as a community, you know, we all do our individual thing, but it would be lovely to have some way that we can be, you know, there's strength in numbers, and if we can pull on that somehow, somewhere, it would be really good, because these guys, there's not a huge amount of work to do when children are young. There's no problem, they haven't got fear. They don't have as much work as we have to do to make the shifts and make the changes, and they actually teach us. And if we can get this into schools in some way, which I do already, I do personally, we run classes for small kids. We also teach children, like my son and Ali there, they're teenagers. And we also work with people who have got intellectual learning difficulties. And Charles has developed a fantastic set of exercises that it's taken what Tai Chi is here and brought it down into very simple exercises, but it contains the depth and the knowledge and the wisdom of all of these years into a very small, very simple lesson. I work with people every day with special needs, and it is a privilege working with them because these guys teach me again, like the kids. Yeah? So I'd just like to thank Charles, Stuart. I'd like to thank my students, my teacher, my other teacher, Michelle, and I'd like to thank Sabina and Mr. Higgins for having us here as well. Thank you. And everybody here.
For me, Tai Chi has been a lifesaver in terms of my emotional development, because I've learned about the stillness of going inward and learning to listen, you know, with what the Bavarian man, I forget his name now, he talks about Hara, the vital centre, and how we listen to our own inner wisdom as we breathe inwards. And that wisdom rises up and teaches us how to be and helps us to live with the stillness of a passion for living and for life and for a way forward that will be good for all. And thank you all. Thank you, President Higgins. Thank you, Mr. Higgins.
Did you tell me that?
Don't mind telling you what age I am.
Yeah. Do you?
I'm nearly 78.
Yeah.
I've been teaching it.
I'm here a little bit to dispel the myth of Kalichi. First of all, I'd just like to say Kevin Moran is my name, and I'm from Dundalk Youth Centre. And 2 years ago, we had the privilege of the President visiting us to the centre, and it was fantastic having him there. And during his address to everyone, he said that we need to start treating young people as arrows rather than targets. And that's sat with us quite a lot in the centre. And we start talking about how we can address young people's helping them to build their resilience, helping them become resilient people, and to get them away from this whole idea of being stressed for the sake of being stressed. Myself and Kalichi have worked for the last 4 years with young people around trying to develop stress reduction techniques. And last year he would have had the pleasure of working with over 800 secondary school students, 6th years, to try and get them to the Leaving Cert without cracking up. And what we started to find is that this life that we've created for ourselves is all around this whole idea of being completely always switched on. You're always looking for something else. You're always looking to see where the next contact's coming from, the next text message. What screen should I be looking at now? And the young people are getting so bombarded with all of this stuff that they actually don't have any sense of who they are as people themselves. And that's really, really sad. And so what we've started to work on is simple techniques that will help young people, that when that boiling point is happening, they'll be able to step back from that and be able to centre themselves, as you said earlier on, and to relax. And I'd have to say we've brought a lot of young people here with us who've been working with Kalichi over the last number of years. And it's a pleasure to work with young people like this who really see the benefit of this work. And I'd just like to thank the President and Mrs Higgins for having us all here today. It's a great privilege, and I'd just like to say that I hope we continue our work with Kalichi over the next couple of years as well. So thank you all.